hasn't this year been special? You know, it's hard to know who to believe and what to believe. I think part of it is because of two things: politics and, of course, COVID. This particular virus is like something most of us have never ever seen in our lifetimes. And because no one expected it or anticipated it, the news did seem to change daily. As they thought something had been determined, it was put out there because people were panicking. You know, we're a funny species. We don't go completely on instinct as animals do. We think about things, and sometimes we very definitely overthink things. So while some people were almost fatalist, oh well. Other people were running around like Chicken Little, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. I believe we've all known by now of at least one person who has passed, transitioned from this physical plane to the spiritual plane. But it hasn't all been the virus. It has been other things that have been breaking down for years. Sometimes it's been distracted drivers that have had accidents. Many of you know my mother passed in September of 2019. From the time my mom passed, I have had at least one person a month that has passed from one thing or another. But you know, in our particular family, the way I was raised as well, things like that come in threes. Okay, that's the third person, okay. And then someone else would pass. And so it has been. Now, one of the reasons we say our spiritualist prayer for healing is that we're putting forth a positive thought, and we're certainly asking God to help. But we don't always realize that when someone transitions, that is what is best for them. Do we miss them? Oh, of course we do. Of course we do. But would we deny someone we love with all of our hearts? Would we deny them that privilege to finally be back with their Creator, to see all their loved ones who had passed before? That's the only thing that got me through losing my mom. Knowing that she is still very near. I don't cling to her, I don't beg her or my daddy or Jim, my stepdad. I don't beg them to be with me every day. I know they're having the time of their lives. They are able to do things now in the spiritual realms that we can only dream about here in this heavy physical world that we need to experience first. But I will tell you, although I did step down as pastor several years ago now, once someone is an ordained minister, you're always an ordained minister. And Ron will go from telling me, you just can't take that call anymore from that particular person, because then you're just bottom of the barrel for the next couple days. And other days, depending apparently on his mood, he'll say, well, you know, that's the job. Deal with it.
Comes with the title.
Comes with the title, that's for sure. That's for sure. So I'm quite sure all of you have experienced some real ups and downs. And whether it's family, losing family, or illness of family, whether it's job related, whether it's not being able to be with people you love and care about and laugh with. It's been a worldwide change. I don't know of anyone that has not been affected in some way. I do find the calls that I get from a few specific people, and I will honestly say, no one who's here today. Y'all are doing good. They have fallen into a rut. Now, from the time I found spiritualism, I was told over and over and over again, you know, the only difference between a rut and a grave is the depth. And I was also told, and as our principle reminds us, we make our own happiness or unhappiness. Now that may sound trite to someone who's been through a lot of heartache. And yes, we are all allowed to wallow in self-pity for a time. But whatever has changed our lives, we're not meant to stay in that frame of mind for the rest of our lives. Our loved ones certainly wouldn't want that for us. But how do we get out of it when it feels like everywhere we turn, we're wearing a mask, we're seeing masks, our hands are tied, our hands are sanitized. You know, it's how do we get past these things that have occurred? Because frankly, we're pretty spoiled. If we live in this country, we are pretty fortunate and spoiled. Well, the people that I have found that are just miserable and have been for quite a long time now, can't get outside of themselves. They are so wrapped up in that cocoon of grief or self-pity, they can't comprehend that maybe someone else is having a hard time too. And the very best way to get out of yourself and your own heartache or your own problems is to help someone else. Well, how can you do that? Well, of course, there's always prayer. There's a smile. I will say that Ron and I have noticed such a tremendous difference between the far western part of North Carolina and Central Florida and then South Florida. We went down to see one of our sons and his family. Bless you. In North Carolina, where we are living now, it's like Florida used to be before all the theme parks, before all the interstates. People do go at a different pace. And you can always tell if there's a tourist in a car somewhere because they're the ones that are leaning on the car horn. They're the ones that are pushing and shoving to get in front of you. It's what we get used to. It's what we get used to. We almost self-protect by taking on an attitude or taking on personal traits. So we do have that option. That's the thing we have to remember. We have to be the leaders, not the followers. Now, does that mean we go browbeat somebody because they do believe differently than we? No, absolutely not. Whether it's voting at a voting machine or whether it is making personal choices about wearing a mask or about getting vaccinated or about the booster, about flu shot, pneumonia shot, shingle shot. It's personal. It's very, very personal. Now, I know two people who work for large companies, and they were given the mandate, get vaccinated or you're fired. And they were scrambling to try to be exempted. And it was a very, very, very deep personal belief. How can we argue with that? Well, some people would argue that if they're out and about and working around a lot of other people, then yeah, we do kind of have to consider the good of the whole. But in these two cases, these individuals have been home working from their computer for the last 5 years. If they choose not to go to a holiday party or something where there are going to be a lot of other people, that's okay. But their actual work that they are being paid to do is being done from home, and it has been for years. So we do live in a country where people should still have choice. Now, as spiritualists, we know we have to do our part. As spiritualists, we know we cannot control anyone else. We are all supposed to have free choice. It can get deeper and deeper, well, free choice as long as we're not hurting anyone else in the process. Well, what constitutes hurting someone else in the process? If nothing else, this last year in particular has made us really think, really go within and explore and examine our own personal beliefs, our own personal truth. Okay, hopefully we've gotten to that point. Now, what are we going to do? We still have that choice because these things are still ongoing. Some people have found that they just want to be home. They don't want to hear anything, see anything, or repeat anything. They just want to be in their own little cave. That's their choice. But those who have found that maybe they're not comfortable around being around people, they can go out and go for a walk, or sit in a park, or play with their own little fur baby or someone else's. That's their choice too. And it is very uplifting. Now, y'all are fortunate. You're not going to be battling blizzards and snow and all of that, ice down here, so you can go out more year-round. Or you can be where we are, and if it does snow, which it doesn't very often up there, you put on some good sturdy shoes and some warmer clothes and go out and get in it anyway, because the air is crisp and clear. We have choices. We have choices. Since we're still here, it means we're still here for a purpose. We are meant to be here to support one another, to learn and teach others, to support one another, to be kind, not controlling, just accept. You know, the Reverend Marilyn Autry's book about natural law, Go with the Flow. People who like control, people who are used to being in charge, are the ones that are struggling most with that. We just have to surrender. You do. You surrender, or you make yourself absolutely sick and miserable because you're exhausted from paddling against the current. Ego might have a little something to do with that, or some people don't go from ego-based. Perhaps you've been someone in the family where you, maybe even as a child, had to take more control, had to support one or two parents that were struggling with their own issues. Maybe you were from a family where you were the oldest and you had to really pitch in, whether it was on a farm or in a home. Everyone comes from a different place and a different space. So we need to certainly cut others some slack, but also cut ourselves some slack as well. A dear neighbor of ours in North Carolina struggled with a very serious situation. And he knew he was going to pass, but he was just a wonderful person. And we talked about spiritualism, and he did live longer, quite a bit longer than he was expected to. But we talked about it, and he came over one day when he first got his diagnosis, and he said, I need to talk with you guys about something. And we said, okay. He looked very serious, and he told us his diagnosis. And, you know, what do you say when someone gets that? You tell them you're sorry to hear that. You know, you'll be praying for them and hoping that they will get the treatment that's encouraged. He did pass this year again. He lasted longer than anybody expected, including him. But he had quality of life. He recognized there were some things he just was not able to do anymore, but he made up for it in the things that he could. And isn't that what life is about? Whether we're facing a terminal disease or just life. Rod and I are just stunned that it seems like overnight there are just some things we don't do as well as we used to. We get tired a little quicker. We are a little more careful about where we step or what we climb on. That's life. It's not necessarily even age, because my mother proved it to all of us. Age is just a number. It's quality of life and how we develop that quality of life. So the changes we can make in this next year, if we've not already done so, would be self-healing. Those of you who were here in time for our healing service, wasn't it wonderful? Oh, I've missed that. Quiet meditation music. Rosie led us into beautiful scenes of nature and then just let us go until it was time to bring us gently back. How refreshing that is. I mean, wow. If you haven't done it, try it. Try it. You know, not only our Creator, but our spirit guides and our family and friends that love us dearly, they're all right here. We have to open the door. We have to open the door. Invite them in. And then, after that special time together, then we say thank you. Bye for now. It is transformative. It is life-changing. you will know once and for all. You're never going to be stranded alone. In your darkest hour, you will feel that strength coming to you. What about self-development? Have you decided to learn a new hobby or a new skill, or have you done a lot of reading? You know, if you're going to be by yourself sometimes, or a lot of the times, then do something to improve yourself. We're not meant to be stagnant. We're supposed to keep learning and being involved. If you can't go without, if you can't be a social butterfly that you're used to being, then go within. Go within. Look for that higher information about things you can do to develop yourself and to help others. The key, again, is to open that cocoon and do something for someone else. We live in such a big town, we get the paper once a week. It comes out on Thursdays, ready or not. And we love it because it is primarily local news, you know. And they had an article in there that they're looking for reading buddies. Read the article and it sounded interesting. I went to the meeting and I said, I want to do this. I happen to be an avid reader. When you're an only child, you don't learn much about card games and things, but you can read. So I went to the meeting, and please God, keep the schools open up there because of COVID. Second and especially third graders have really fallen behind in their reading skills. So I signed up to be a volunteer, and I can't wait. I can't wait. It's my understanding I'm going to be working with just a few children at a time, but on a regular basis. I passed the background check. And I'm going to be getting a little lanyard with my photo and name on it. The important thing is the teacher gives the assignment. Teacher's going to tell me what I'm supposed to be doing here. But they stress to build a rapport with those children because, bless these little ones, I mean, their whole world has flipped upside down. And whether they were theoretically homeschooled, because not all were able to be homeschooled. Now they're back in school. Now maybe they're going to be back home again for a bit. They need to learn. They want to learn. And for whatever reason, they may not have two parents to help them. They may be living in an automobile. They may not have sufficient food. So another wonderful part of living in a smaller area is everybody supports everybody, however they can. And we don't have to live in a small area. We can live in our own little small area with the people we know. If you must go get groceries, then hold the door for someone. Or at least smile and say hello. People are so startled when you speak to them because, again, everyone's rushing around like this. It'll make you feel good. I promise you that. Get out of yourself. Get out of ourselves. Now, one night, I woke up in the middle of the night. I think it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. And Ron was sleeping, and our little dog Fancy was sleeping, and just like that, it was like a spotlight, very bright, but very condensed light on the ceiling of our bedroom. We have dark drapes. There's never any light that comes in, but I'm looking around to see if somebody was doing something. And I realized, duh, it's spirit. Okay, what do you want to tell me? They gave me a prayer. Now, I love our Spiritualist healing prayer, no question. But I'm going to tell you the prayer that they brought me, okay? I ask the universe, and of course my mind is saying, wait a minute, why am I asking the universe? And very gently, you know, all things are created by the infinite. Oh yeah, okay. I ask the universe that the power and light of all things positive protect, nurture, and heal. You can put your own name in, names of others you love and care about. I often ask for the church, for situations. I always have ended prayers with amen. This time, so be it. And then all by myself I added, thank you. We have so much help from the higher side of life. Please don't forget that when you get discouraged, when you get concerned, when you get frightened. Remember, we're never alone. There is always love and support and strength for us. I hope you'll take that thought with you as we go into a new year. Recognize you're here